Hello there, comic book fans and film nerds, and welcome back to an episode of the Silver Screen Podcast and one of our special episodes. We have done these before. It's one of our top 10 episodes. If you haven't watched any of our previous ones, why the heck not? Go back and watch our top 10 Christmas movies or top 10 Marvel movies. But speaking of comic book related stuff, this will be our top 10 DC movies. In the interest of balance. Not a great time to be dealing with all things DC in movies, but we have addressed that in a previous video, so we're not going to go there just yet.
This is fine.
Hopefully not too much. This is fine. Absolutely. So this will be our top 10 DC movie special. As with all of the top 10s, we usually have a panel of people that will come together to form our final top 10, and there's 4 of us here. I'm Mike, so I'm your regular host. I'm joined by my regular co-host, obviously, DK.
Hello there.
Awesome. Hello, DK. We're joined again by DK's friend Nick, who you may know from our Predator review.
Hello there.
Awesome. And we are also joined by our friend Theo, who you may know from the Big Screen podcast.
Hello.
So we are a wide range of different various age groups and things, and we're all over the internet, but we all, I think, have in common that we're all DC fans, at least to some extent. So we've all picked our top 10 list. If you haven't watched our top 10s, just to quickly go over the way that I do this, because I have the burden of having to try to make all the maths of this make sense and work. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it does still. But basically, what will happen is everybody will read out their top 10 lists. We are going to go one at a time from 10 to 1. And just for the sake of avoiding arguments, and because I couldn't be bothered to think of a cleverer way, we may as well go alphabetically. So we'll go DK, myself, Nick, and Theo, because why not? So we give our number 10, then our number 9 each. Then we go around and give our number 8. And points will be awarded to each movie depending on its placement in each person's top 10 list in reverse order of number. It will make sense. For example, a film placed at number 10 would get 1 point, number 9 would get 2 points, and so forth until the number 1, which would get 10 points. At the end, the total points from all 4 of us contributors will be accumulated, and hopefully that will give us a final combined top 10, which we will give you after we've done audience interactions and the like. But if that seems like a lot to take in and you're more of a visual learner than sort of understanding my ramblings on, I will pop this information on a ticker, which you'll hopefully see on the bottom of the screen, which I'll keep on for a couple minutes just to try and familiarize yourself with the rules. But don't panic. If not, you'll be able to follow it as we go along. So before we get into the actual top 10s, we do have, I know myself and DK have some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the top 10. But before any of that, I wanted to go to DK because we want to get this out of the way. I know that you had a dishonorable mention that you wanted to have a little ramble about, DK.
Yeah, I'm sorry if anybody's got this in their list, but as well as my honourable mentions, I have one dishonourable mention. I don't want to go over retread the path that we went over yesterday, but it's got to be Batman versus Superman. There was
half the audience have switched off.
Well, fuck 'em. There was more than one misstep in Snyder's Man of Steel movie that I could just about forgive them for. Had they moved on and built Superman up from the ground up. But tonally, to me, Batman vs. Superman is just another shit show. Aside from a couple of decent scenes, primarily involving Gal Gadot, it's plainly obvious that Snyder had zero idea of what to do with the characters past whatever Frank Miller Elseworld tea he'd been sucking on. Not only did it completely destroy a production in which arguably, and I want to emphasize this, the 2 most recognizable heroes in comics lore appeared alongside each other, but it set the tone for the continued car crash that followed. I mean, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor yeah. So as much as I like Snyder's earlier movies, I just cannot forgive him for that. So apologies, but that's my dishonorable mention.
Okay. Does anybody want to jump in with any thoughts or opinions on that then?
I'm going to say happily that is not in my list, so I will be sticking around for the rest of the podcast.
Fair enough.
I probably have a better opinion of it, but yeah, I'd agree with quite a lot.
I was just going to say the same. I don't feel quite as vitriolic towards it as DK does, and I will say that in the interests of balance, I don't hate the film. I can see all the problems with it, and Eisenberg is a strong one, and Snyder's kind of seeming contempt for the characters, and Batman being a killer, as much as people whinge about, oh, he does it all the time, does rub me up the wrong way. But having said that, it is probably one of the best cinematic versions of Batman that we've had. It's definitely some of the best fight scenes, because at least, you know, they can do that. And
I did really like Affleck's, or should I say Batfleck. Yeah, and I think what's happened with it is a real shame, because that was a real strong point of the movie for me.
It is.
I just think it was a very strange way to introduce a Justice League with a Batman that's pretty much on his way out.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's missteps galore, but in terms of the actual film itself, like I said, people have ranted about it enough about that it's the only good part, but the sort of Arkham Asylum-inspired sort of attack on all the goons and KG Beast that happens in that film is still at least a good sequence, and better than, in my opinion, anything we got in Snyder's Justice League, but that's a different argument for a different time. So, Theo, any last thoughts before we move on that one?
I mean, I liked it. I went to see it twice in cinemas, so...
That's fair enough. I mean, people are allowed to like these things, you know.
Yeah. I mean, if you like it, fair play to you. Just funny.
Don't get me wrong. I don't love it. I don't think it's like a masterpiece or anything, but like it's a fun watch. Like I can watch and kind of switch off and just enjoy like some of the nice visuals. And Batflick is a really strong Batman.
Yeah, but, definitely.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of it's an all right film for me. It's just like
I don't even mind the battle with Doomsday at the end. And I mean, yeah, as you said, Wonder Woman's great in it at least. And if it wasn't these characters with this level of kind of baggage that you have to be at least, you know, somewhat subservient to, I don't think it would be as bad. But
and I have to admit, when they did the sequence where they showed you all the Justice League members on the laptop, a little bit inside of me did get a bit excited. I was like, okay, you set this up way too early, but seeing all the icons and seeing like little videos, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I think
I hope nothing goes wrong with this, you thought.
Yeah. Oh dear.
The Flash.
I hope that Lex Luthor has a career in graphic design, though, because he's fantastic at designing superhero logos, as it turns out.
Yeah, he basically just...
Stay in your lane, Zack.
Anyway, we'll move on from that, and I'll take this little ticker tape off the screen now, because you've all had a chance to hopefully look at that. So there we go.
I would just stand very quickly that the director's cut is moderately better.
Yeah, extended cut.
Yeah,
it is better. It is. Yeah, it does actually make a lot of the sort of plot beats and stuff make more sense, which kind of were left very vague in the theatrical cut. I mean, it doesn't necessarily improve anything that you might have a problem with, but you know, at least it makes what's there more coherent. So, anyway, so as I said, we were going to start by going over our honorable mentions, which would be the films that didn't quite make our top 10s. I'm aware that myself and DK have discussed it and we have these, but I didn't actually ask Nick or Theo. So do you two have any honorable mentions that you wanted to mention before I ask?
That's a slightly more complex question for me, but I have something to say in that section.
Okay. What about yourself, Theo? Did you have anything outside of your top 10, or did you just narrow it down to a top 10 without any loose cannon?
Well, I was struggling between a few. Do you want me to say them?
Well, yeah, this is your chance to name anything that almost made your top 10 but didn't quite make it, so go for it.
So, almost my top 10 was Batman, The Rise of the Phantasm.
Batman Mask of the Phantasm was also one of my honourable mentions.
Batman 1966.
Also one of my honourable mentions.
And Man of Steel.
Okay, that's not in my honourable mentions, but okay, fair enough. Again, it's a film that I have issue with, but I can understand that a lot of people like it, and I get what's good in it. And again, yeah, as DK said, it made some missteps, but I don't think it's a bad overall movie. So, yeah, I can understand people liking that. Although personally, it's one of my least favourite Superman movies, perhaps second only to, I don't know, Supergirl, if you want to count that.
Quest for Peace and Superman 3 suck ass.
Superman 3 I hate, but Quest for Peace I have a soft spot for. So
we may have a fight on our hands later.
We're almost certainly going to get into conflict at some point anyway. But
get that bell ready.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you on Batman 66. It didn't quite make my list, but yes, it is cheesy and it's camp, but that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's a fantastic comedy that absolutely knows that it's meant to be a comedy, and for that you have to give it its plaudits. It's my family have been laughing at that. You can't get rid of a bomb and the whole shark looking stuff. But
that shark repellent.
Yeah.
Genius.
The scene of the supposed riddle of like the shark was pulling my leg. That means it's Joker. It happened at sea. C for Catwoman. This is all one big riddle. So Riddler. And what else lives in sea? Penguins. So penguins involved. Just the worst kind of 3-2-1 type clues you've ever heard.
Commodore Schmidt-Lab has entered the chat.
And yeah, Mask of the Phantasm, just as in its status as being a spin-off of the fantastic Batman animated series, obviously is great. Didn't quite make my list, but it was just outside. It was considered for a long time, but I have to say the ultimate deciding factor for me was just that there are better episodes of the animated series, as much as people might disagree with me. So I would personally recommend going and watch a couple of those instead of the movie. But anyway, right, so that was Theo's and a couple of mine. What about, we'll go to you next, DK, because we are not sure what's happening with Nick, so we'll ask for your honourable mention.
Okay, I've got Dark Knight and Batman Returns.
Dark Knight is not in your list?
No.
That's interesting.
They almost made it, but they were picked by their respective fellow entries.
I'm shocked.
Mask of the Phantasm, Lego Batman, which to me have been better Batman movies than most of the live-action ones these last few years. I do have Snyder's Justice League, just for the attempt at making a silk purse out of a sow's ear. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is nothing like the books in some cases, thank goodness. But it was a fun...
Sorry to say.
Oh, no, I didn't mind it. I just thought it was a fun romp. As long as you just disassociate it with the books, I thought it were all right. And a very, very honourable mention to Batman 66. It's bright, it's colourful, and it was pretty much the movie that kicked off my obsession with superheroes. And, of course, it led to the infamous This Isn't Footloose incident.
Exactly. Well, just to, again, because I have one in common with you, so I will agree. I also have Batman Returns in my honourable mentions, which, again, so close to making it just for how iconic it is. You know, so many of the lines and the scenes and stuff are ingrained in my memory, and I've watched it so many times since childhood. But ultimately, the same criticism can be said of it that I've said since it came out, which is it's not a Batman movie.
It's a Danny Elfman.
It's kind of a Tim Burton, I'm interested in these freaky villains movie. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's great that it gives the focus to Penguin and a new version of Catwoman, and Walken's great, but I don't personally think you can rate in your top 10 a Batman movie where Batman appears for about 14 minutes of 2 hours. You know what I mean? So, that was my logic anyway. So I'll finish off the rest of mine because I've only got another 2 then. So also in my honourable mentions, but didn't quite make it, is the movie V for Vendetta, which, again, it was very close to making it, but unfortunately it just made a couple of too many unfortunate changes to the source material, which I'm really reverent about. So I couldn't quite squeeze it into my top 10. It was just a couple of things that were like, ooh, yeah, no. But very good, though, still a very good movie. And, you know, as Alan Moore adaptations go, better than Alex G, despite what DK will tell you. But never mind. And the final one, which is the one that I struggled about for ages and was in and out of my top 10, is the movie Stardust, which I had to pop down to honourable mentions, primarily just because I cannot stand Ricky Gervais, and he's in this movie.
That's the exact same reason that I discounted it.
Yep.
I don't necessarily have a problem with Ricky Gervais as Ricky Gervais, but when he's in a film and he's Ricky Gervais, it just takes you out of it completely and just destroys any suspension of disbelief you might have had.
I've just developed a hatred for him as he gets more and more bigoted lately, but that's, you know, to their own. But no, Stardust is actually, like I said, with that aside, it is such a good movie that I really wanted to try to squeeze it into my top 10, but I just couldn't justify some of the casting choices. And as you'll hear a lot, like I said, the book is better. So just, you know, use that maybe. Right. So, Nick, what's the sitch with your honourable mentions then?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I actually struggled a lot more with the top 10 DC movies than I thought I would. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh yeah, that'll be easy. 10 films, no problem. And when I've come to actually look at them, it turns out maybe I'm not a DC fan at all. But
it's difficult, to be fair. You'd think there's more, and then it's actually there's, in terms of great, like epic movies, there is probably less than you'd think, really.
Yeah. So there's a little filler in my top 10, if I'm honest.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to give an honourable mention to Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. I know it's sort of not technically allowed because of it never got a general release. But yeah, I mean, apart from being worlds apart from the Joss Whedon version,
that's a matter of
I got a lot of time for it, which actually you need a lot of time for it because it's 4 hours long or something. But yeah, it did make me sad that a little bit sad that the Snyderverse didn't continue, because I would have liked to have seen where that went. Again, not saying it's perfect or anything along those lines, but epic it certainly is, and you know, it's given enough time that amount of characters need to have. I think, but yeah. So honourable mentions, yeah, probably. I'd probably say Batman Returns, and for similar reasons. Now you've said that sort of occurred to me, but yeah, it's a Tim Burton film. It's not a Batman film. And I've got a very, very dishonourable mention. And you'll see why I say it's dishonourable, because it wouldn't have appeared in my top 10, but I have to mention it. But I'm going to mention Supergirl. And for one reason alone, that as a 14-year-old boy at the time, Helen Slater in that Supergirl outfit had a profound effect on me. And I'm going to leave that there and gloss over it, and let's move on before.
For all that movie's flaws, Helen Slater is fantastic in it, to the point that she's still getting roles in, like, she was in Smallville for one episode, and she's a semi-regular in the Supergirl TV show because she's great as an actress, you know.
Yeah.
With that out of the way, then we're going to get into our top 10 lists, and as I said, we're going to go down the list alphabetically, and I'll keep tallying points as we go. And yeah, you'll keep up hopefully with what we're doing, and you'll be able to figure it out. So we're going to start with everyone's number 10, and as I said, we're going alphabetically. So DK, I'm calling on you to start the ball rolling. What is your number 10 movie and the first movie to get 1 point?
Okay, it'll probably be the only movie out of here to get just 1 point. I mean, straight out of the gate, I'm probably going to end up at odds with Theo here. Bear in mind, I had Howard the Duck as number 10 on Marvel one. So with number 10 in this, I'm going Superman 3.
Right, okay.
Outrage.
Superman 3 it is. And other than, you know, discussing the incredibly traumatic horror movie friggin' assimilated robot woman at the end of the movie, which I'm sure we'll touch on, why else might you love or hate Superman 3?
It's cheesy, it's garbage, it's your Richard Lester following on from what he did with Superman 2, and it's a Richard Pryor vehicle, but it's got some of the best scenes in the Christopher Reeve series. Again,
really?
I think so. That fight between Clark and Superman in that junkyard, I think that's one of the highlights of the entire series. It's mostly for laughs, as you would expect from a Richard Pryor, but it does have scenes in it, and I grew up with it, and so I'm just going to stick with it. So screw you all.
You're allowed. I will say I like what's her name, Annette O'Toole as Lana, and I like the first half hour when Superman's heroing in Smallville. But other than that, it's pretty irredeemable. It's my least favorite Superman film.
Oh, I love it, and I love the TV version even more, which has got quite a few extended scenes.
Fair enough. It's nice to have a wide range of opinions, and we are all still able to be friends. But with Superman 3 on that one, but we'll see if it makes anybody else's list later, I guess. Any last thoughts on that then, DK, or are you happy to move on from it?
Look, it's my secret shame. I love it.
So yeah, alphabetically, I would be next. So my number 10 is Aquaman, basically, because it's just fun. It's not ashamed to lean into the fact that it's a fundamentally silly kind of idea. So you have got like octopuses playing drums and people riding seahorses and sharks and stuff, and Julie Andrews voicing a sort of Kraken sea demon. You know, what more do you want from a film? James Wan, I think, leaned into exactly the right kind of, particularly in a DCEU that, like I said, had become very navel-gazing, ponderous. We all have to have deep trauma and hate the human race kind of thing. It was nice to have a little bit of fun and see an actual heroic origin that was heroic. And I never thought in my life that I would live to see the day when Black Manta would appear with an accurate comic book helmet on the big screen, because that is effing ridiculous. And yeah, I appreciated that. Great action sequences, like I said. One's a good director, an awesome little horror moment in the trench sequence. And yeah, that's. I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, despite making like $1 billion, but it's good enough to make it to number 10 in my list. So that was my number 10. Any counter attacks on that one?
not a counter. Probably Manta being it is one reason why I didn't include it in my top 10, because it's a little bit too ridiculous. But yeah, it's an enjoyable film. The actual the costume. It just didn't work for me. But yeah, I should have said at the beginning, I'm not a comic guy. So all mine are sort of based on purely the actual films themselves, without sort of being burdened by familiarity with the source. I do have a certain degree of familiarity with the comics, but I'm not sort of precious about the source. But it's a fun film, but it's practically all CGI, which is a little much for me.
I mean, there's no other way to have really done it. But...
That's true. Yeah, very true.
Go ahead, DK.
I enjoyed it when I watched it, but it's not been that. I couldn't really tell you that much about what happened in the movie, and to this day, since I've watched it the first time, I've not really had an urge to rewatch it again, which
that's a shame.
Says a lot. I can understand why you like it. It's certainly been one of the better ones of the DCU, but yeah, there was quite a lot of CG, as Nick says, and at some points it did feel a little like I was watching a cartoon.
That's nothing wrong with that. But no, I mean, if you know me at all, you know that my predilection is to lean more towards kind of full color golly gosh heroics, and so. Like I said, I think I appreciated, particularly in a DCEU that hadn't really done that yet, that it was like, oh, it's an actual origin story with a hero who's being heroic and doing hero stuff and cool bits of action. And yeah, the action in the desert sequence, I don't think is overly CGI when it goes a bit Indiana Jones for a while there in the middle. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's simply my 1 point goes to Aquaman. So let's see who's next. Nick, what is your number 10 film?
Like I say, a little bit of filler at the this end of the list, but mine is actually Man of Steel.
Right. Okay.
Not a perfect film, but what I really liked about it is it's probably the first time we really saw the sort of power levels of Superman portrayed sort of really well. Just enormous people flying for miles through things and just knocking buildings down and so on. Just absolutely, just sort of closer to the real power level that I understand Superman is supposed to have. He is godlike in his power. So I appreciated that. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. There's some silliness in there, no doubt, but I just find it really watchable. I could, despite potentially bloated runtime, I could sit and watch it quite easily. That one, and it was the beginning of the Snyderverse, and there was an element of hope there for a while. But yeah, I quite like it.
I can't quite give it that kudos, just because I think that's a misunderstanding of Superman, that it's all about what power level he has to have and stuff, and making superpowers is all what it's about, and he's great, and it's like, no, you're missing the point. It's all about the human side. And speaking of which, having a father who basically goes, yeah, let people die, dude, protect yourself, is literally the opposite of what Jonathan Kent should be saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, not a great. Although I do love I will say the half-hour intro on Krypton is fantastic, and a lot of scenes and sequences are pretty good in there. So not the worst thing, and you can see why people are clamoring for a sequel, because there's enough there that I think you could correct any mistakes quite easily in a sequel. Bring the character closer to its kind of comic book origin, and you know, if you had that kind of action with a bit more restraint, maybe could be good. But anyway, so yeah, Man of Steel, 1 point for your number 10. Theo, you've been very quiet. What's your number 10 film?
Okay, I don't know. This might piss some of you off.
That's what we're here for.
My number 10 is Watchmen.
No,
not at all.
Not pissed off here either.
Oh yeah, I thought I was gonna get. I thought I was gonna get demolished for this. The reason I put it at 10 is because I don't know. I liked it. I liked like some of the characters, and some of it was really fun to watch. But I couldn't back the whole film. The whole film felt kind of sluggish at points, and some things were a little bit unnecessary.
Right.
But then again, there are some amazing characters in there. So it was a very mixed film for me, and it was quite like mid among my like rating of it. So it just makes sense that I'd put it 10.
Oh, that's where you're going to get some disagreement, I think.
But might be the opposite of what you thought, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I appreciate that. You put it at your number 10, so you obviously enjoyed it, and it gets 1 point out of you. So, and yeah, it's good. Yeah,
so it's got some great characters, just some a bit slow.
I can understand where there are flaws as well, because I've mentioned it before, in as much as whenever I've been sort of mentioning, reviewing the film or praising it, that Zack Snyder really does get in his own way a little bit much. Less so in Watchmen than some other cases, but I think the level of uber violence and slow-mo were both completely unnecessary to the film, and it's kind of like, just calm down a little bit, you know? But anyway, yeah, so that might be one reason why it's maybe lower on your list, but anyway, that's 1 point for Watchmen. So, DK, we're back to you. What's your number 9 film?
It's V for Vendetta. As I say, I'm not as beholden to the source material as you were, but I think it's a decent Alan Moore adaptation. As I say, it's when the Wachowskis were still they were still quite a rising star in Hollywood, and it's got great performances, some beautiful scenes. I think John McTeague did a fantastic job on the direction. Certain sections like the God is in the Rain and the domino scene with the score by Dario Marinelli, I just think just beautiful. It's not something I can watch over and over, especially in today's political climate, but when it is on, I will without a doubt sit and watch it through.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. The performances are fantastic. Natalie Portman, as you would expect, is great. She's a great actress most of the time when she's not around George Lucas.
Pretty much everything except McGregor, I think, but yeah.
But yeah, and despite the kind of, I know that the behind-the-scenes stuff about the fact that it was going to be, what was it, James Purefoy who played V, and then they replaced him with Hugo Weaving because they had a mask on anyway, so it didn't make a difference to anything. But I do think Hugo Weaving was the wiser choice, even if it is only a voice role for half of it. And again, a lot of the stuff they do adapt is very fantastic action, and ultimately the message is intact. It's just a shame that, like I said, they feel the need to. For me, they just over-egg the whole, like, ooh, the government are so corrupt. Look at this golden, opulent bathroom. And she's like, all right, calm down. But yeah, it's a great movie, though. I do recommend everybody watching that and or reading the comics, so the graphic novel, I should say. And,
the reason I didn't include that in my list is actually very poor of me. It was a contender, but I haven't seen it for a long time. And this is one of the, as I say, I'm not a comic guy, but this is one that I had read the source for too many years ago. But the reason I didn't include it was because I couldn't work up. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I couldn't work up the enthusiasm to watch it again. So I automatically discounted it for that reason. But if
it hasn't appealed you enough to make you, then it's the film's flaw in a way. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But it could well be that if I had watched it again, I'd have been like, oh, actually, I love this. It's got to be in. So
yeah. I was similar, but I think that's why I made honorable mentions, because I was like, if I had just come off watching it, I'd be like, this is great. But then it kind of, it sleeps in your head a little bit when you haven't seen it for a while, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Right, so my number 9 then, and I promise I am not joking. My number 9 is Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for everyone to pick their jaws up off the floor here. I will go to bat for this film any day of the week. It is the hill I'm more than willing to die on. I know it shouldn't work. I know the TV series is purely for children as much as it is fun to sometimes sit and watch if you're babysitting or whatever. But this movie is 100 times better than it has any right to be. It is a marvelous satire of superhero cinema, which I think we need, particularly given the breadth of it right at the moment. A fantastic musical, which has surprised the heck out of me, where all the songs are great and catchy, including the intro to the Teen Titans, or Robin lamenting that as a sidekick he never gets his superhero movie, or like Michael Bolton turning up to sing a song that's simply called Upbeat Inspirational Song About Life, because all movies have to have that. It's fantastically tongue-in-cheek. There's even a Stan Lee cameo, even though it's a DC movie, because it's that kind of like irreverent. But yeah.
I actually like the show, the Teen Titans guy.
I enjoy it for what it is, but I fully accept that the target audience is very young children, and the Teen Titans cartoon is probably the better sort of animated thing for more adult viewers.
Well, in comparison to you guys, I am a very young child.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, I don't think you're quite as young as that target audience, but yeah, I would recommend if you were put off by the idea of like, oh, it's a kids type thing, it's not going to be great. Give it a go. You might well be very surprised at how subversive and how kind of fun basically it is, because as I say, the only reason I saw it was because my niece and nephew dragged me to the cinema. They wanted to go see it and they had to have a chaperone, and I'm the resident geek of the family, so they were like, well, you're going to like it more than any of us at least. And I groaned and sat there waiting to hate it, and it's now one of my top 10 DC films, and I have the Blu-ray and I watch it all the time whenever I'm feeling down because it's just fun. So yeah, Teen Titans Go to the Movies got 2 points from me.
Yeah, I have absolutely no opinion on it. I'm not familiar with the film. I'm not familiar with the Teen Titans at all. Wow, but okay. I've got to say, you've sold it pretty well, so maybe I'll check it out.
There is no better way to familiarize yourself with the Teen Titans. The film literally opens with a rap that introduces all 5 of them and what their powers are.
Sold.
So yeah, Nick, you are next up. What's your number 9 film?
Okay, number 9, I have Wonder Woman. The Snyderverse version, I guess, but not by
Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins, indeed. Yeah, it's
fair enough.
It's a solid film. I think it proved wrong the fallacy that female superhero movies don't work. You if you actually take the time and put some effort into making them good, then maybe they will be successful. Because we could name the previous ones there that were left lacking in many ways.
Well, you named Supergirl already, but just to name and shame Catwoman, whatever the heck that was.
I like it. There's some great action, particularly the No Man's Land sequence. Mm-hmm. I mean, actually, I suppose we really have Snyder to thank for this, but the Wonder Woman theme is...
Yeah, Hans Zimmer theme.
Yeah. Thank you. I didn't know that, but it's very stirring. And I love it when it comes up. Yeah. And I like Gal Gadot's Diana / Wonder Woman characterization. The ending, it falls into the classic superhero movie trap these days of just being a big CGI fest and really sort of losing the human meaning behind it. And I was never convinced by the fact that Chris Pine's Steve Trevor, is that, if I got that right? Yeah.
That's right.
Had to sacrifice himself. I'm sure they could have found another way out of that. But generally, I like it.
That's great.
I watched it once. I thought it was all right. Yeah, I think you pretty much got nailed on the head. I like Diana. I like what Gal Gadot does with the role. But then it just like the bad guy is such a letdown. Like Jesus
that's true.
Christ. And this amount of like the final battle has no, like I was not invested in that fight whatsoever.
Yeah,
I can understand that logic. Yeah, definitely.
And all the like side characters are a bit watery.
Yeah, that's understandable. Cool. So you are next then, Theo. What's your number 9 to round off our number 9s?
My number 9 is Superman 2.
Oh, okay. Right. So 2 points for Superman 2. And what, presumably you're talking the theatrical version since we weren't allowed to pick the other one. But so what did you like about Superman 2?
I'm assuming this is the 1981. I'm allowed that, aren't I?
Yeah, the theatrical version's fine. Just there is a Richard Donner cut that I would say is superior. But I still, we still rate the second one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I meant just the normal one.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. And what do you like about it?
It's just a good sequel. I really like, can I remember the actors? Christopher Reeves. Is that Superman?
Christopher Reeve is fantastic throughout the
yeah,
man.
Like, he's still amazing. He's still great in this film. Like, he's solid. I like Zod and his like trio. They're just really cool bad guys, and I've always liked Zod as like that like kind of villain for Superman, who's basically just a Superman clone but no morals.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just a really good film. Like I remember, I haven't watched it in ages though. I used to watch it a bunch when I was a child, but I remember like the fights being solid and the whole Superman debating whether to become human was like very interesting. I quite liked it. I was like, yeah, this is like a side of Superman we normally don't get. And when you see Superman bleed after he gets punched, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
it's just like it's just a really good film. It's not like it's amazing. It's not phenomenal, but it's like it's good. I just like it. It's fun.
Excellent. And you have fantastic lines like, "So this is Planet Houston."
Yeah,
there is some great stuff in the film.
When you say these things, you know he'll kill you for it.
I love that line, DK.
Some great cheese.
And
Kneel before Zod.
I've always had an affinity for beachfront property. Give me Australia. Right, so we're starting again with you then, DK, to give your number 8 film, please. Okay,
I might get quite a bit of stick for this, but I still love it. And I'm going to go Constantine.
Oh dear. You call yourself a Constantine fan? They got everything wrong about it. Anyway.
If I could replace Reeves with Matt Ryan, it would be perfect for me.
Yes.
Right. They got everything wrong. He's not American. He's
well, no, that's what I'm saying. If they'd have kept Constantine as Constantine, yeah, but everything around him, I love.
Fair. I personally, I just, like you said, because I'm so deeply versed in the comics, I think I was just like, this is offensive. You've changed everything about this character to the point that it may as well not be John Constantine or Constantine, however it is the heck you're supposed to pronounce it, because there's been some debate lately. But anyway, different argument. But yeah, okay, fair enough. What else did you like about the movie then?
I think Peter Stormare is,
was the worst part.
He was not.
He was terrible.
He wasn't. And
I don't think
Tilda Swinton.
Without an immediate reaction from Mike.
That was oh no.
Oh, calm down, bitch. I thought it was. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I heard a lot of bad shit before I went to see, so maybe I had such low expectations, but yeah, I can still sit and watch it now. As I say, I'd prefer if Matt Ryan were there, but no, I'm happy with it.
Matt Ryan.
Okay. A lot of people do seem to like it, so that's, I guess, fair enough. I'm just going to butt out because it's not really. I think
you don't need to articulate your thoughts on this one, Mike. I think that's pretty clear at this point.
I've made it felt, I will say Tilda Swinton was great if you want a positive, but there we go. But yeah, so anyway, 3 points though for Constantine, not bad at all, because it was your number 8. Any thoughts from the rest of you two guys?
I honestly, I don't have any thoughts on it. Not familiar with the source material. I have seen it when it was out, probably, and I can't even remember what year that was. It's a while ago now, I guess.
2004 or something like that. I think it was early 2000s.
But yeah, I can't remember if I enjoyed it or not, so I didn't really consider it to sort of go back and watch.
Not memorable for you then, in that case. Fair enough.
I guess. So.
Have you even seen the film, Theo?
I have not, but I'm aware of its infamy, and I've seen certain things.
Okay, fair enough. You're probably like 2 when it came out, so.
If it was 2002, I would have been 1. If it was 2004, even. If it was 2004, I would have been 1.
Well, there you go.
Physical pain.
Yeah, my back hurts, but never mind. So my number 8. My number 8 we've already just briefly talked about, but my number 8 was Superman 2. I will say the Donner cut is the superior version, but we weren't allowed to pick that because in my own rules, which I said cinematic releases only, and the Donner cut didn't really get a theatrical release. If it was allowed, I will say now it would be higher up on this list because, like I said, it is superior to the Richard Lester version. But the Lester version isn't terrible. There's a few of the kind of comedy things that for me would eventually creep in and ruin Superman 3. I don't need to see people skiing down a roof and then flying like they've got a Superman cape on, But yeah, what was I going to say? Superman 2, a very good movie. As you say, Christopher Reeve is great, and the first 2 are generally regarded as the best of his movies. Margot Kidder's always great as Lois Lane, and the kind of sacrificing your powers to live a normal life plot is so good that they just ripped it off for Spider-Man 2 wholesale. So it's obviously a good idea. Lots of cool moments. And I also like the fights. I think even though they are the polar opposite of Zack Snyder in that they seem a lot more contained and a lot kind of like there's some actual weight and what have you to these people, punching each other around and flying into billboards from Marlboro cigarettes or whatever. but yeah, I think it's a very good movie and it's definitely worth a look. But I would say if you have a choice between the two, go for the Donner cut. And that's
I mean that's a good point. The Donner cut and what happened. The whole story behind what happened with that. I would have loved to have seen 1 and 2 as the complete Donner vision.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
The problem I really have with the Donner cut is the continuity doesn't really work with the first one.
No, and it is kind of rubbish that it basically ends in the same way as Superman 1 because they ripped off the ending that they had planned for 2 to give it to 1. So yeah, it doesn't work now because of the way things ended up, which is a shame, but I do still think it's the better movie. Yeah. Anyway, so number 8, who was next? Oh, Nick, you were next. What's your number 8?
Okay, I think I'll be the only one with this on my list, possibly, but it's Lego Batman. I don't think there's a lot really need to say about Lego Batman. It's Lego Batman. It's funny as hell, and I think it works for all age groups. The humor. In fact,
there's specific references to the 66 Batman, so you can't say it's purely for kids. There's so much anyway.
Yeah, and there's innuendo, and the humor just really works for me. Really shined with me.
Will Arnett is just so flipping good as the Lego Batman in every role he got. So.
Yeah, it's just a laugh riot, really. Will Arnett, he's a sort of petulant goth Batman, and he's always got his always in black or very, very dark grey, and it's just great.
Definitely, best joke in the whole thing is that the Robin costume was just the reggae Batman costume that he stole in it.
Yes,
awesome. Right, so was that? Theo, we need your number 8 as well.
My number 8 is Batman Begins.
Awesome. Okay. So 3 points for Batman Begins. I'll be talking about that later, but what do you like about Batman Begins?
Well, hands down, Scarecrow is either my favorite or tied favorite DC villain of all time. So seeing him done pretty well is great to see. It's a pretty decent origin story as far as origin stories go. Like, it's Batman. You can't really do a lot with it, but it's pretty good beginning. I like that we actually see him with Ra's al Ghul, which is nice to see because most other Batman adaptations don't have that because Ra's al Ghul is like kind of a whole thing. But it was nice that they were able to tie it in to the Nolan Batman films, which I always appreciated. And it's pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a very good origin story. They do decent by Ra's al Ghul, even if they don't adapt the more ridiculous parts of his constant Lazarus pitting back to life and whatever. But yeah, very good as a Batman origin. I don't think it can be topped. But
I've got a slight, not really an issue with that film, but it slightly, for me, sits apart from the other Nolans stylistically and in terms of aesthetic. Doesn't quite connect up for me, but no, I've got no problem with it. One thing I do seem to recall is Ken Watanabe to this day believes that he was actually a ghoul, and which is an interesting take. But I'm not sure if that was a lost in translation error or not.
Yeah, I think that's probably just Ken Watanabe wanting to be a ghoul. But
quite possibly.
Yeah. Anyway, awesome. So that was all of our number 8s, I think. Yeah. So we're starting on the number 7s, and again we'll jump to you first, DK.
My number 7, it's been mentioned before, but it's Wonder Woman, the Patty Jenkins Gal Gadot.
Okay, so that's 4 points for Wonder Woman, on top of the 2 it already has.
Like was mentioned earlier, the No Man's Land scene is really memorable. It's a decent film. It's just let horrendously by that final final adversarial. Other than that, it wouldn't be tiring for that.
It does sort of fall into the DC trap of we quickly need a CGI mess to fight in the last 20 minutes, but that's the only sort of bugbear I have, I think, with it anyway.
Yeah.
Not just DC, I'd argue Marvel falls into
that as well. Yeah. I'm next on ice. So my number 7 we've already talked about is the Lego Batman movie. Talked about it just before, and I mentioned as I was discussing it with you, Nick, it's great. It's incredibly reverent to literally every version of Batman. There's references to everything from the 60s to the Michael Keatons to the Christopher Nolan sort of trilogy to the cartoons to everything, and it manages to do that without seeming like it's taken the mick out of any of it and just celebrating it even when it's ridiculous. It's a decent enough little plot when you think about it, which actually does genuinely make you kind of think and care about these weird little Lego characters. And it's just a solid little Batman tale, and it is the film that gave us Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. So yeah, Lego Batman movie for me was my number 7. Nick, you're up next. What is your number 7?
Oh, right. Well, unusually, because I think the closer we get to the number 1, the more that will have been mentioned before. This one hasn't been yet.
Okay.
This one for me is The Losers.
Wow. Okay, that's one I haven't heard anything about, and I'll be honest, I've never seen. So sell me on The Losers. Why is it one of your top 10?
Well, I can safely say it's absolutely fantastic at this point then. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very different to a lot of the other ones we're talking about because we're very much in comic book territory, really, but or graphic novel. But
we've mentioned V for Vendetta and Watchmen already. So.
Other graphic novels, but yeah, The Losers. I mean, whether it's based on a comic is neither here nor there for me, but it's basically a classic Mercs with Hearts revenge against a remorse-free but very funny bad guy who just needed to be twirling a moustache to really sort of sell the point. But yeah, it's probably, I'd probably best describe it as what the A-Team movie should have been. Yeah, sort of disparate characters. It's got a great cast: Idris Elba, Chris Evans, Zoe Saldana, and others. It's funny. There's wisecracks and banter, solid fights, things blowing up. It's got a really cool stroke kitsch soundtrack. Nice. There's betrayal you can smell coming a mile off, admittedly. But yeah, yeah, sorry. I don't think it'll be a spoiler. I think you'll see it coming a mile off.
Fair enough. There's a guy just in the corner looking sinister the whole time, like, yes, I'm on your side. Yeah.
That pretty much sums it up.
There is foreshadowing.
So would you say that it's kind of a throwback to the 80s action movies that we used to like, maybe?
I probably would, actually, yeah. It's
good. Oh, that's me sold then.
watch. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece or anything, but it's certainly...
No, but I mean, neither are a lot of the Arnie, Van Damme, whatever else.
True. But yeah, it's a solid action film with, it's set very clearly set up for a sequel that never happened. And in my opinion, never really got the attention that it deserved. But
it completely passed me by, and I don't really know why, because it doesn't seem like it's something that I would have avoided, and it sounds like I would enjoy it, and it's going straight on the watch list after this. I'll tell you that. But awesome. So I'm gathering. Awesome. Well, I'll let you know. I'm gathering you've seen it as well, then, DK.
I have. I watched it again just the other night. I mean, the first time I watched it, I did fall asleep, but I don't think that's any bad reflection on the movie. It's a solid.
You're just old.
As Nick says, it's a solid enough action flick. It's very much 80s based. I think as action movies go, it's quite mid, but a lot of them are the same level. And Nick's right on the villain. Jason Patrick in this is absolutely fantastic.
Oh my word! Speed 2's Jason Patrick is in it.
Yeah, it surprised me.
He redeems himself.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm assuming, I don't know why I'm assuming this, but I'm assuming, like me, you haven't seen it, Theo, maybe?
I've heard of it. And I've seen like a bunch of when it's like Chris Evans is literally in every superhero film, and then it's like him as the Human Torch, Captain America, The Losers,
Scott Pilgrim.
And it is on my watch list, but it's quite interesting. I definitely have to give it a watch now with that high of a recommendation.
Oh, for sure, yeah, awesome. So that was Nick's number. Let's see, 7. So we've just got your number 7 to go then, Theo.
My number 7 has been briefly mentioned. It's Batman Returns.
Okay, so 4 points for Batman Returns, which was on a few honorable mentions, so we all obviously like it. But what pushed it to your number 7 then? What did you really like about it?
So I love Tim Burton. I love almost all of his films, and he somehow managed to make a shit Charlie and Chocolate Factory that haunts my night. But I think it's a good Batman sequel, honestly. The villains are funny and over the top, which I personally love to see when a villain is just completely wacky and like off the walls nuts. So like Danny DeVito's Penguin is enjoyable to watch, but then you also have Catwoman, who is still,
iconic,
a bit off the walls, but she's still a bit more believable, and she actually I don't know, she has like a cool story. I feel like I quite liked following her throughout the story, and I love seeing Batman torch a henchman with his Batmobile. I thought that was badass, even though it might be a murder. It might be a murder, but it was pretty cool when he did it.
Don't love him planting a bomb on some guy and then throwing him down a sewer to blow up either, but never mind.
Batman doesn't kill people, but he does. He doesn't stop them from dying. That's the thing. But
Definite Simpsons logic. I'm going to fire my gun in this general direction. And get out the way of that, and that's just your fault.
Honestly, and I love Tim Burton's style, so. Awesome. And the soundtrack is amazing. The opening scene with Penguin being a banjo child, I still find that really sad. And then you have the very haunting, like choir music over, and it's like, oh,
that's very Tim Burton. That sequence, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and Tim Burton is best. I love Tim Burton personally.
I love Tim Burton films. It's just I would have preferred to see it, Batman.
Yeah,
in a film called Batman.
That's one thing that does bring it down. As it is like Batman light, and his performance, Michael Keaton's performance, is not as good as in the other Batman film. It's still great, and I really liked it.
That's fair enough. We all kind of like it, so I don't think any of us are saying like it's a disaster. But
that's fair enough. I love it. It was just picked to my top 10.
Yeah, I actually thought I'd be an outlier by not including it in my top 10, to be honest. So it's interesting.
It was in my honorable mentions. I'll say that. I'll be honest, like 90% of the reason it's even in my honorable mentions is just Michelle Pfeiffer. Talk about a sexual awakening in 1992 when I was 10.
It's like me with Supergirl. It's dishonorable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh well, number 6s. We'll start now then, and DK.
It's already been mentioned. It looks like I'm probably going to be the only one that's got it on the list, but it's Stardust.
Great. Okay. So 5 points for Stardust. I've mentioned exactly why I love the movie and why it was in and out of my top 10 and ultimately didn't make it. But why did you decide that it was worthy of the number 5 spot?
I honestly just think it's really fun. I mean, when I first saw it, I hired it from the library at the same time as I hired the Golden Compass. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Oof, that's a bad movie.
Exactly. I sat through Golden Compass, and my hopes were not high for Stardust, but it exceeded them. It's, as you say, it's not as good as the book, but it's incredibly enjoyable, and it's a feel-good movie for me. I've watched it probably too many times now, to the point where I'm absolutely sick of it. But yeah, I still love it, even with Gervais, who I'm not a fan of myself. But yeah.
That's cool. And also that Take That song is just brilliant.
I was going to say, it's the film to Take That song.
Yep.
God,
yeah. I think Matthew Vaughn films just had a weird thing of having Take That songs describing the plot, because X-Men First Class did as well. My number 6, then, already been mentioned again, and my number 6 is Watchmen. Once again, it's a situation where, because I had to deal with the theatrical cut, it maybe dropped a couple of places to where it would have been. If we were talking about the director's cut, it would have went up a couple of spots. If we were talking about the ultimate cut, it might have even went up another couple of spots, because the ultimate cut I watched for the first time the other day, and it was fantastic. The way that the Tales of the Black Freighter stuff threads in and reinforces the plots and stuff in the same way that it does a graphic novel. I think it really works. It's a shame that the studio wouldn't kind of back the idea of this, I guess, 4-hour movie. But, you know, Snyder makes 4-hour movies. And if we're going to pick one of the two of them, I know which one I'd rather watch. But I think, yeah, it just reinforces so much more. And the director's cut, the fact that it restores the murder of the original Night Owl, which I think is crucial to the plot, to the point that it was criminal that the theatrical version left it out. But yeah, but Watchmen, having that, it's just fantastic. It looks gorgeous. Whoever the kind of set designer and costume designers were, did such a good job capturing that world. It's got the best little intro sequence of perhaps any film I've ever seen. The kind of world building setup, kind of doing well, because I think he kind of has this thing about not loving superheroes, and it is a deconstruction of that. So for me, I think that's a great melding of director and plot in a way that the DCEU probably wasn't. And great performances. I mean, Jack Bailey as Rorschach, fantastic, specifically. But yeah, and just a great plot. As I said, the book is better. It's always going to be. It's literally one of my top 2 books of all time, along with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, even though it's a graphic novel. But yeah, Watchmen, my number 6, solid 5 points from me. So, Nick, what about you? What's your number 6?
Okay, then. My number 6, and I'll explain why, is Superman 3. So
okay,
it's pretty high up on the list.
Okay,
this is a really personal one for me.
It's an O'Toole, isn't it?
It's not. No.
Oh shit! It was for me.
Yeah, it's a really personal one for me. This is when I really got into movies, and by movies I mean movies, not films, if you see what I mean. It was the first film I saw multiple times at the cinema. It was the first film I went on my own to see, because I'm that old, basically. So I was around.
Surely you were traumatized by that weird robot woman at the end. I still have nightmares about that.
But a mutual friend of mine and D.K, I was talking about this with him, but he said, that's going to get a mention, that bit, when you talked about Superman 3. And yeah, it has done a couple of times. But
it's all I can think of from that film. It haunts my dreams.
But it's you know, it's not a well thought of film, I will admit that. But I absolutely loved it. Like I say, it made me see it more than once at the cinema when I was
I can respect that.
13, and actually go on my own to the cinema to see it. And you have to bear in mind as well that this was out around the same time as Return of the Jedi, which I also saw in the cinema. And this is the one I chose to see on my own and multiple times. So
you can't necessarily condone that behaviour. But
I know.
Yeah, there's a limit, mate.
I've crossed the line now, I know, but I was 13. Give me a break.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, Christopher Reeve, you know, throughout the Christopher Reeve films,
Of course.
he's been just such a good Superman, but he's not just been such a good Superman, he's been a great Clark Kent, and he's been a great Kal-El. Yeah, because the Superman is a what's the word? A trichotomy. But
I will say yes. Superman 3 is the first time that we really see that the Clark Kent in Smallville is completely different to the Clark Kent in Metropolis, which I appreciated at the time. Is like, oh, okay, he's not this bumbling idiot when he's at home, and he's just the young sort of Clark Kent that his parents know him as. He's just a regular human dude, you know. But
yeah, and you know, DK mentioned it earlier, but I would echo that sentiment entirely. The sequence where you know, bad Superman fights good Superman, or Clark Kent versus bad Superman, or however you want to sort of frame that, is just extraordinary, and probably I would agree. Yeah.
My mother, incidentally, my mother loves the scene where the evil Superman just goes around effing with the world. In particular, the fact that he like straightens the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And the guy that's selling the merchandise starts having to like reproduce paintings and stuff of the now straightened Leaning Tower until the good Superman has to correct everything and then brings it back to a leaning again. And the dude who's had to rebrand all this merchandise just gives up and throws his merchandise away like in a fit of rage. Like, I've had enough of this. Which is, it's terrible if you ask me, but my mother found it amusing. But never mind.
It just smashes up all his little models. Yeah. Exactly. Fantastic. And, you know, I love, you know, getting Lana Lang in there as well, and was it Pamela Stevenson?
Yeah.
Yes, this is Billy Connolly, who was pregnant during the filming of this movie.
Yes. Yeah, that was another moment for me, I must admit. I mean, there's some real nonsense in there. But Richard Pryor's great in it. There's a great cast, as there is in at least 3 of the Christopher Reeve films. Robert Vaughn.
You've got something against Sam Wanamaker? Good. Theo, then, we'll finish off the number 6s with your number 6.
My number 6 is Superman.
Okay, Superman 78, I presume?
Yes, of course.
So that's 5 points for Superman. Again, theatrical version, I assume. But so what did you like about that, and why is it not higher in your list, quite frankly?
Yeah, I can tell that this is gonna. If you've put Superman 3 at number 6, I can tell that Superman's got to be. You know, I haven't watched this one in ages. I is in dire need of a rewatch on my end, but it's Christopher Reeve's amazing Superman. It, like, Lex Luthor is great in it. I like the it's a good origin story film as well. So it ticks all the boxes. The spinning around the Earth to make it time go back.
I knew you were going to say that was your book, but
it's not like that ruins the film because it's with the corny like campiness of the film. And when I watched it, I wasn't sat there like, this is bullshit. I was just kind of like,
weirdly enough, my little brother was. That's why he hates this movie. He just cannot get away with that ending.
I have a really different interpretation of that scene.
Okay,
it's always interpreted. You know, he flies around really fast around the world, and the world turns back in time. I always saw that as he flies really fast around the world and flies fast enough to go back in time, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, similar to the Flash kind of idea.
Yeah.
Like literal, it's more sort of I've opened a portal through time or something.
Yeah, but anyway, sorry, carry on, Theo.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that like, yeah, I could argue that that's true. Like, if you say that to make it better. You say that to make it better, but you know that the filmmaker's intention was like, oh no, if the world's been backwards, then things happen backwards. Like, it's a nice modern day explanation, but realistically, it's still that. And I forget the helicopter scene is iconic.
Of course,
like,
you've got me. Who's got you?
Absolutely.
Like, that's just.
So why else is it not higher in your list then?
I don't know. Just everything above it, I like more. That's
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll go through the number 5s now then, and again we'll start with let's see, DK. What's your number 5?
Again, it's been mentioned. It would be higher had it not been the theatrical cut, but I'm going with Watchmen.
So yeah, you have a similar opinion to me that the director's cut and or ultimate cut are probably better, but it's still a great movie, I presume.
Yeah, I think the ultimate cut you just cannot beat it. But as it stands, what I saw in the cinema, I loved. I wasn't totally on board with Snyder changing the reason.
Oh yeah, the ending.
Yeah, but
although I will say that the recent rewatch of it was the very first time that I realized that he did throw an Easter egg in there, where when they detonate the device that's supposed to imitate Dr. Manhattan or whatever, it's called like the sub-quantum interference detector or something, and it makes the acronym SQUID, which appears on screen, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know you'd done that.
But I mean, right. If you look at
for the record, I'm gonna cause some controversy later on. So just
okay. All right.
I mean, I think judging from the recent HBO series, you could have conceivably kept the original ending, and it wouldn't have been
absolutely
stupid at all. So, other than that, I think it was a pretty faultless adaptation. I mean, you could actually recognise panels to the point where it was slavishly copied at some points. And
I like that though. I like it when they use a comic book as their storyboard.
Oh yeah, I mean,
films, it's usually. I mean, Sin City is the prime example of that, which I just love.
It's. I mean, it was done really well, and this was before the sheen started to wear off on Snyder for me. But yeah, as I say, if it had been the ultimate cut, it would have probably been much higher. But as it stands, yeah, it's at number 5.
Yeah, well, we've kind of said as much as we need to about that. As I say, if you're gonna watch it for the first time, I would certainly recommend either the director's cut or the ultimate cut. But yeah, awesome.
I am, as I said, I am going to rile some people up a little bit, but
okay, you probably prefer others, but that's all right. Fair enough.
No, not about that specifically, but we'll see.
I'm waiting to get riled up on Theo's list anyway because it's coming, and I know it is because he's mentioned it. But never mind.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm next on the list, and so my number 5 is Batman '89, which you can see in my little thumbnail there. Because I think it's the better merging of Burton sensibilities with the actual Batman comics and lore, without it overpowering Batman as a character. But you still have a great villain there in Joker. It just doesn't overwhelm you with like the way that Batman Returns has basically 3 villains when you count Chris Walken. And I think it's a great two-hander between Batman and Joker. I actually kind of appreciated the change to the comic that Joker killed his parents, and so they kind of made each other, and it has that sense of duality that basically makes it an overriding plot of why they would be so sort of linked to each other and hate each other. I kind of appreciated that, which perhaps it's because I was too young of an age to be like, you can't change the comics. And yeah, Michael Keaton is fantastic. The whole, let's get nuts moment, or just the difference that he puts between Man and Bruce Wayne in the movie. You can't go past the supporting cast in all 4 of these, but Michael Goff as Alfred is fantastic. The Commissioner Gordon is good. Billy D. Williams was pretty good as Harvey Dent. Did kind of get screwed out of being Two-Face later, but it's again not here to litigate all of that. But no, I think it's a great movie, and it starts off and it's very much reminiscent of some of the better parts and the less over-the-top parts of the sort of Frank Miller era 80s dark Batman, and it does it really well. So, and it's just a very enjoyable film with some great action sequences and some, again, moments that have gone down, I think, in film history, and a good soundtrack by Prince. So that's all I've got to say about that. So, so we're on number 5. What is your number 5 then, Nick?
Okay. Number 5 now. And one of these words is very important. The Suicide Squad.
Right. Okay. Can certainly understand that. So that's 6 points to the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn version. So yeah, I can't say it was on my list, although I did like it, just not, I think, as much as a lot of other people. So what did you love about the Suicide Squad?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I didn't know if this was going to be on the list or where it was going to be on the list until I watched it again today. And this morning, in fact, and yeah, absolutely loved it. What I like about it is it feels very much more like your classic James Gunn film. I'm referring.
I don't like the classic James Gunn films. I hated Super and Slither and all of that trauma-based crap. I just no.
I was going to say the trauma, Slither, Super stuff, but it feels very much like he's really unfettered in the Suicide Squad, which, you know, I love Guardians of the Galaxy 1 2, but there's still an element of sort of fitting into the MCU around it, and
that's why I prefer them, to be honest.
But coming from a different angle, clearly, yeah. But
I mean, I can see your point of view. Mine is just the opposite of kind of. For me, it didn't quite make the list because it's too tonally just inconsistent, and it doesn't know whether it wants to laugh or cry at every death that happens, and it's all over the place. It doesn't really fit anywhere in the universe. And like I said, I just think Gunn can be a little bit too cynical and kind of frat boy. Oh, look at all the blood at times, and I don't hugely appreciate that. You know, I think he's better when he is a
different angle. Yeah. I mean,
a lot of people would agree with you, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it is outrageously silly in parts.
I can appreciate silliness, but it's just, for me, it's not so much silliness that, like I said, it's just frat boy humor type stuff, as opposed to, like, Guardians of the Galaxy has silliness, but it also has heart. And for me, there's just no soul in the Suicide Squad. It's just like how many ridiculous roast things can you go?
Yeah, you see, I found he sort of tonally, for me at least, I found that it did work. It had the silliness and the moment of things. It did work for me. I love it. I love cool. Sort of.
I am going to say, though, this will really shock you. I think the exact opposite about Peacemaker, which weirdly enough manages to have 10 times the heart and soul of the Suicide Squad, even though it's a series, and does keep all of those kind of James Gunn weirdnesses, and kind of has that sort of, you know, a bit of grossness at times and some definite silliness, but for me is just infinitely better as a property. So again, I couldn't put the Suicide Squad in just because I preferred the spin-off show. So,
yeah, I've only got about halfway through Peacemaker, actually, I must admit, but have been enjoying it. But I don't know, I watched it again and I was like, yeah, I'm loving this. I enjoyed it beginning to end. The humor really appeals to me. The seriousness, the sort of more serious aspects of it and stuff. Yeah, some of them are cliched in terms of, oh, actually, it's our government that's bad, and we must get this out there. You know, it's a little bit cliched, but the character. I mean, it's got Nathan Fillion in it for a little bit, but yeah, they had got a bunch of wacky characters in there and killed them off very quickly with using things and stuff. I think I don't know if I'm going to interfere with anybody's opinions on this, but for me, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, always good value.
Of course,
in anything.
Yeah.
That she's in, you know, although she's
easily best part of that first Suicide Squad movie by miles. Absolutely.
By very, very
a high bar, though, to be fair.
That's the thing about the Suicide Squad opposed to Suicide Squad. You know, there's a lot of studio interference with the first one, and David Ayer, is it the director?
Well,
and you know, there was an argument for the.
We only have his word that any other version would have been better. Given what we were presented with, I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, it seems a stretch, I must admit.
So
might not find its way into our combined top 10 by the sounds of things.
It's 6 points, so we'll see. I don't think 6 points will be enough, but we'll wait and see. So what was your number 5 then, Theo, to finish this off?
My number 5 is Dark Knight.
Criminally low, but okay.
Right. Dark Knight. Joker. Yeah, he's great. Style, yeah, it's great. Soundtrack is great. He's not a good Batman. He's not a good Bruce Wayne. That's the only real problem I've ever had with the Nolan films, is that I just don't like Christian Bale's Batman. I don't know, something about it. I just don't like it. Like,
That's a shame.
like when he's Batman, he has the overly raspy voice, and
I'm Batman.
he's like, I don't know, he's a bit of, but still, the Joker is obviously a fantastic villain. Like, there's no doubt in that. Two-Face is a great kind of twist that you don't really expect when you watch the film for the first time. You don't expect there to be a Two-Face kind of, you know, element to it, but it still works very well. Commissioner Gordon, one of the best Commissioner Gordons of all time.
Gary Oldman is good.
I just don't like Batman or Bruce Wayne in the Nolan films, because the thing with...
I can't really counter that because it's an opinion and it's just your thoughts, isn't it? So,
but it's other better examples of a Batman and a Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Like, you look at, like, for example, you look at the Bruce Wayne. You look at just Bruce Wayne in the film. If somebody in that universe told you that Bruce Wayne was Batman, you'd be like, yeah, of course.
No, because you have scenes like that whole hotel thing where he's like, I just bought the hotel, I can do what I want, I can, you know, muck about with
yeah, but then you have like
even when he has to kind of pretend to be Bruce Wayne to protect that guy, and he's like just driving a car, you know, and he's like, oh, you saved that guy. Oh, I was just trying to miss the light. So I would argue there is a lot of differentiating Bruce Wayne and Batman in the
But he's like, I know Bruce Wayne is meant to be eccentric, but he's too eccentric to the point where it's like, yeah, if you told me that guy was Batman, I would believe in an instant. Like, I
would just believe he was a spoiled billionaire personally.
Yeah, but like if someone like gave you the connect, I don't know. I don't know. Just this Bruce Wayne doesn't sit right.
It's just it's the way it rubs you up, isn't it? So,
yeah, it's just a bit. He's just a bit bland, honestly. But everything else, like Michael Caine, as much as I loathe the monologues, they are good, and his performance is great. It's just a all-around great film. I just wish they changed the actor for Batman and Bruce Wayne.
We'll start with the number 4s, and D.K, start with yours.
Again, but Batman Begins.
Great. That's 7 points, I believe, for Batman Begins. And what did you like about that movie?
It's my only Nolan movie in this. As I say, Dark Knight's an honourable mention. This one just picked it because I just find this one more rewatchable than the Dark Knight. I think the Dark Knight gets a little silly towards the end. I mean, you know, not that Batman Begins isn't with the freaking Immortal sending.
Well, it doesn't address that, to be fair, though.
Yeah, but yeah, I just like it. I like Liam Neeson's Raj. I love the origin story. I think it's done really well. I like Michael Caine as Alfred. Love Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow, and I think was it Katie Holmes?
Katie Holmes in Batman Begins, it was, that played Rachel Dawes, yeah.
Yeah, I preferred her as Rachel, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of her, but I did prefer her as Rachel. And
that's for me, but never mind.
I just find it a good film. It's infinitely watchable to me, which is a lot more than Dark Knight, and certainly more than Dark Knight Rises.
See, I would personally, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think Batman Begins for me is less rewatchable and just a little bit more boring and takes its time a little bit more, but never mind. To my number 4, and my number 4, and I don't want to spend too long on because we've talked about it enough, but my number 4 is Wonder Woman, the Patty Jenkins movie, because I love the kind of 4-color heroics of it and everything. I love the portrayal of Diana. I like that Patty Jenkins just copied the kind of Superman the movie mold for the film, and that's evident in places, even down to sort of shared scenes, like when Diana gets shot and the bullet bounces off her bullet as she protects Steve. It's clearly a direct, let's say, homage and be kind. The No Man's Land sequence is fantastic. Again, you can't go past it. The Hans Zimmer score. Basically, everything we've already said is why Wonder Woman makes my number 4 on the list, and I think, is my highest DCEU placed movie. So, Nick, what's your number 4 then?
My number 4 is Batman 89.
Right. Okay.
Which we had talked a bit about already. It's got another personal attachment for me. This was before the days that films got worldwide sort of day and date, or at least in the same week release. And I was visiting my brother in America that summer, and it came out in America before it came out here. So I saw it then, and then I got to come back to the UK and pretty much act the big man for already having seen it at the cinema. But yeah, Michael Keaton's Batman, I really like his take on it. There was a lot of controversy at the time. You know, it was pre-internet, but there was always
Mr.
like,
Mama's Batman. You've got to be kidding me.
yeah. But
Yeah.
you know, I'd already sort of rated Keaton as an actor anyway. Thought he was unfairly treated. I thought, yeah, he captures, and I'd agree with Theo. He captures the Bruce Wayne Batman differences better than Christian Bale for my money. And yeah, Jack Nicholson as a Joker, a great Joker, a great Joker.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Burton, but it's not too Burton, and I don't really object to Burton.
Exactly.
But
yeah, I would say the same exact thing as I was saying. Yeah, it's Burton, but Burton doesn't overpower the source material in the level that he perhaps does in Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. What about you then, Theo? What is your number 4?
My number 4 has already been talked about. Is The Suicide Squad.
Oh. Okay. See, I told you there would be other fans of it, Nick. So 7 more points to the Suicide Squad. What did you like about the movie then, just quickly?
Well, I watched it twice in cinemas. I love all the characters personally, like even the ones that get killed off in the first 5 minutes. I think that was it's a little bit obvious because there's so many in the trailers and stuff, but I really did like that they just killed off like 20 at once. I think, and like they killed off like big names as well, which was nice. Like they killed off Captain Boomerang, and then like some of them like Nathan Fillion.
Like that though.
No, there were like some big actors in it, like in the first like death scene, and it's just great. And then what you were saying, like, there was not a lot of heart in it. I feel like there was heart when there needed to be heart, but at the end of the day, it was meant to be like a silly, goofy film because the Suicide Squad is, I think, inherently goofy because it's just a cast of kind of unknown, goofy rejects like Polka Dot Man and Bloodsport and Peacemaker are obviously just rip-offs and like lesser versions of other well-known ones like Deathstroke, or no, Deadshot even. But
okay,
I don't know, and like I liked all like when they died, I did feel something for some, and I found it funny for the others. And Rick Flag, like his death, I felt was quite like I was emotional. I was like, oh shit! And then like his final line of Peacemaker, what a joke! I was like, oh, that really hit hard, and it showed that John Cena can also act, which was nice.
I just love the fact that that's a reference back to Watchmen, personally, because Peacemaker was the inspiration for Comedian. So what a joke! I was like, I get it. I get what you did there.
But and then like the soundtrack, I think is great. I love all the songs, and especially the end credit "Oh No" song slaps so hard. But yeah, cool. And the style is nice. I liked it.
Yeah, well, we've discussed why some of us like, why some of us don't, but it's popular enough, so that's great. So we'll start on the number 3s. And Deep Europe, what's your number 3?
It's Superman 2.
So 2 more points for Superman 2. Sorry, 8 points for Superman 2. A lot higher than myself, or I think it was Nick. Oh, no, myself or Theo had it. So why did you rate it so much higher? Presumably you prefer it to the Richard Lester version.
It's one of the ones I grew up with, and yeah, the Lester version is not as good as the Donner cut. But yeah, it's something I grew up with. I used to pop on this is how old I am. I used to pop on a Betamax with a movie on it before school, and this was one of my regular go-tos. And I just love Lex Luthor in these movies. Gene Hackman, he's practically chewing the scenery, but I love him for it.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, he's hardly in it though, because he only filmed the stuff with Donner. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah. But even so, he still stands out for me. And, you know, as you said earlier, the line, Australia.
Exactly. Awesome. That's fair enough. Well, I think you'll like it. But like I said, I was surprised it was as high up your list. But I probably wouldn't have been as surprised if I knew you had Superman 3 in your list. Because clearly you have soft spot for Richard Lester. I cannot believe that you didn't want to include 2 of the same director, but you're happy having 2 Richard Lester movies in your top 10. But whatever.
In all fairness, I didn't know Superman 3 was Lester until I looked this evening when it had started.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to jump to my number 3 quickly because we've already discussed it, and it was Batman Begins. I like it a lot. I think it's a great origin story. I love little moments like Bruce giving the homeless guy his coat, and then as Batman on the first night out, just giving it a nice coat. I just think it's great.
Yeah.
And especially as much as I prefer Maggie Gyllenhaal, I love the moment when Katie Holmes basically finds out that he was willing to kill Joe Chill and just slaps him. And the sheer, I cannot not be moved to this by your father would have been ashamed of you. I was like, dang, that is that hits hard, you know. But so yeah, love the origin storyness of it. Love what they did with Ra's al Ghul as much as they were able to. Even though the twist is kind of cheesy and silly, it's kind of, you know, it works for me. Don't love the whole "I'm not going to kill you, but I have to save you" logic, because all right, again, we're in Simpson logic there, but whatever. But yeah, and again, I love the Scarecrow. I think personally, I like the character so much that I think he was actually underserved by the movie, because you have two versions of Ra's al Ghul by the time you have the fake one and the real Ducard version or whatever. And I would like to see more of the Scarecrow, even with his presence in the two sequels. That did do a good job, though. It was very good. And again, the action sequence at the end I thought was great, riding around the rooftops. And in particular, I love the last line, which is, what was it? I never said thank you. You'll never have to. Just again, one of those things that's like, yeah, badass. So yeah, that's my number 3. Let's see, Nick, what's your number 3?
This is where I got Watchmen.
Great. Okay.
I love Watchmen. I will caveat this with the fact that I'm really mostly familiar with the director's cut. So I'm not really sure what's in and out.
Right. Well, I can tell you vaguely that the theatrical cut cuts out the Not Tops killing Hollis Mason primarily. Yeah. And a couple of
I agree. That's an important thing to be left in. I would have thought. Yeah.
I was really annoyed at the cinema when I watched the theatrical version and that wasn't there. I was like, oh, I can't believe that's pivotal. But as I said, the ultimate cut is basically just it edits in the Tales of the Black Freighter animation.
Yeah.
But also has the linking stuff with the Bernies at the newsagents to feed you into that. So very good.
Yeah, I've not seen the ultimate cut. Basically because life's too short. But yeah.
It's great though.
And I don't have that sort of familiarity with the source material, although it is another one I read a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, visually stunning. Absolutely, completely agree with that. I think special mention needs to be made of Dr. Manhattan's big blue swinging penis.
Oh wow!
We managed. We were going to get through the entire top 10 without that.
Yep. You are the fourth person to discuss Watchmen, and yet we went for 3 other people without talking about it, and there it is.
And now it's on all our minds.
It's kind of in your face, dare I say? But
it's always on his mind.
but yeah, it's you know, as I say, I'm not as familiar with the source material. I have read it, but you know, it possibly doesn't hit all the themes. Certainly, for me, hits the being a hero is hard part of it. And yeah, here's where I'm going to get controversial, I guess. I think the ending improves on the graphic novel.
Oof.
I'm going to leave quickly. Just you don't want to get caught in the fire that's about to rage.
I don't hate. I mean, I personally wouldn't have done that, and I don't like the decision, but I don't hate the level that it doesn't ruin the film for me or anything. It's not like
no.
I wanted to, you know, the sacred creature or whatever.
I just think you know, making Dr. Manhattan appear to be responsible for it, it's, for me, it's just more satisfying and elegant, and than, you know, alien squid things, which almost feels like a Deus Ex Machina for me.
Okay.
But you know, with the, I guess the meta of that being, they're not really alien squid things, but it gives a great sense of tragedy and sacrifice at the end of it, really. And yeah, I just find it a little bit more satisfying, that ending. But
I understand that. Yeah.
I think it's a masterpiece. It's, well, at least the director's cut is what, three hours or so long, and I can sit and watch it anytime.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So, where was I? So that was your number 2. Was that right? No, number 3.
Number 3. Yeah.
That's right. So we are up to yours then, number 3 to finish us off, Theo.
So this one hasn't been mentioned yet, and I'm feeling that it's not going to get mentioned, but my number 3 is The Batman.
Okay.
It's 3 hours. I don't feel it felt like it was 3 hours. I think it's visually stunning. The soundtrack's great. I think Robert Pattinson puts in a good Batman performance. Like, he's definitely my favorite Batman, personally. He's not a good Bruce Wayne. That's the one, like, handy, like that, and the ending is, and the Venom whole, like, injecting with Venom is the only downside for me. But
the only part I like.
Well, I wish they set up the inject. I did this.
I don't think it was supposed to be Venom, in fairness. I think that's a lot of geeky fanboys that have leapt to conclusions, and it's just basically adrenaline. But because there's
I just meant Venom is in like the thing he injects. I didn't think it was actually like Bane Venom. But
yeah,
like, I explain it more in my big screen podcast.
Okay,
nice.
Where I went into a lot of detail about how they could have just fixed that one issue easily. I think it's just great. I've seen it. I watched it twice in cinema, so that was at the comfort of a cinema where I couldn't go for a toilet break or anything. I think the Riddler is a great villain. Personally, I love the Riddler. I love what Paul Dano does with it. Penguin's pretty good. Catwoman, pretty good.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I just really like it. It's really good, and I think it's a very good representation of the detective side of Batman, which we normally do get to see. And it has a dark sense of comedy, like the whole thumb drive thing, which kind of took me by surprise on a rewatch. I was like, oh, that's surprisingly funny.
See, I couldn't quite get away with the Batman. Maybe it's because it was so hyped up and everybody said it was going to be great, and maybe it's because I've never particularly rated Matt Reeves anyway. So your number 2, DK, what is it?
My number 2 is Batman 89. I agree with both Theo and Nick. Michael Keaton is the best Bruce Wayne. I just think Keaton and Nicholson give fantastic performances. He can get a little silly at times, but yeah, it's not overly gritty and it's not overly camp. I think it walks that fine line, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, I would agree. Number 2, just to talk about it then, is Superman, the 78 movie. Again, because I had to do theatrical release and not the slightly extended, might be why it's in 2 instead of 1. But I also just think it hasn't 100% dated very well, which is the only other reason. Because other than that, I adore this movie. I can quote the dialogue between Jor-El and the dialogue to little baby Kal-El just verbatim. I love it so much. Brando's performance is fantastic. Whatever you think about the man. The Krypton stuff, the Smallville sequences with the kind of Glenn Ford aesthetic and everything, so good. I could sing the praises of this film no end. And then, like you said, the helicopter rescue. You've got me, who's got you. That kind of cool back and forth. The relationship between Clark and Lois is just believable, and just the heroism and for me, they've never captured the spirit of Superman as well before or since. Quite frankly, Christopher Reeve was an absolute revelation and irreplaceable. I think they've yet to find anyone anywhere near as good. So, yeah, I'd be here all day, but I basically have a review on the big screen cast audio channels if you are interested in my opinion on Superman, where I just rave about it to my friend Will, who I introduced to it for like an hour and a half, I think. So, yeah, go ahead and listen to that. And I will move us on from that and say, Nick, what is your number 2?
Well said.
Yeah, it might not be moving on as much as you think.
Okay.
2 is Superman 78.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't need to expound on it too much beyond what you've said. Yeah, I mean, and here we go with the age thing again, but yeah, I saw this at the cinema.
For me, I think I grew up watching, because it's one of those kind of bank holiday type films. So I grew up watching Superman on TV, and it was such a formative experience that I can't remember because I was so young. But I know that it's the film that kind of made me fall in love with the Superman mythos and the character. who is now like my favorite superhero character, because I just grew up with this as kind of doctrine, I guess, ingrained in my brain. So yeah. Awesome.
I can't see sort of how well it's aged because it's so ingrained in my,
yeah, exactly.
I
can't look at it objectively either, really.
It's as near to perfection as you can get, really. I think,
as the tagline says, "You will believe man can fly," and so. Yeah. So Theo, then, just to finish off our number twos. What's your number two? And is it number two?
So tying it back a little bit further, my number two is Batman 89.
So it's not number two at all. That's great.
No.
So I'm surprised because I wasn't sure that would have aged well to the younger generation. But yeah, why do you love Batman 89?
Well, this was like the Batman that I grew up with in the terms of like I had this on DVD. My parents liked it, so I watched it quite a lot. And
I see.
It's like everyone said before. It's pretty much everything that's been said already. Nicholson's a great Joker. Michael Keaton is my favorite Bruce Wayne. Not my favorite Batman, but he's still great damn Batman. The Tim Burton's aspects are lovely. I love it all. The soundtrack is phenomenal, in my opinion. It's iconic. It's just, it's all around great, even if he can't move his neck.
DK, as we've been doing throughout, we'll start with you. What is your number one film that you're giving 10 points to Eurovision style?
Okay, as a surprise to absolutely no one at this point, it's Superman 78.
Awesome. Cannot fault it. And what did you like? The movie that we've been talking up endlessly.
Yeah, it's what can I add to what you and Nick have said? Basically, as you say, you will believe a man can fly, and at that point, I did. It was one of the first big superhero movies I saw, and I just can't fault it. I mean, other actors can play Superman, but to me, Reeve is Superman.
Yeah, can't disagree. So my number one then will probably annoy a few people. My number one is The Dark Knight because I don't think you can really go past how good it is. And I'm always aware of the kind of backlash to it and is it overrated kind of thing. And yet, every time I watch it, I'm like, no, this is just... I still feel the same way I did the cinema. That, like, I can't believe superhero cinema can be this good. And and elevate itself to that level. I personally think Christian Bale's great in it. I think, obviously, Heath Ledger is next level good. Again, nobody ever talks about Tooth or... what's his name? Aaron Eckhart, that's it. Who was, to me, is also spectacular. Just appreciate the message throughout the film and all the things that it's trying to say. And I think it's a next level good superhero movie for me. So that's why it made my number one and got 10 points for me. So, Nick, what's your number one?
Well, this is where you'll find out that your number one choice does not annoy me because. Okay. It appears our number one and two are exactly the same. Yeah, Dark Knight.
Okay. Awesome.
I've got this one. I made no notes for whatsoever. I didn't need to. I think, absolutely elevated superhero movies. Although technically, Batman isn't a superhero, I guess.
Yeah,
he's not got powers, but other than being very, very rich. But yeah, I think it's an extraordinary film. All the elements you've mentioned are great. But for me, Heath Ledger's Joker is just transcendent. I'm in awe.
Still winning, yeah.
Yeah, I think he deserved it fully. Absolutely in awe of his performance as Joker. Some people don't like the take on it, I guess. But for me, it was just extraordinary. All I'm going to do now really is just gush about that. So I'll
bring us home then, Theo. What's your number one?
Number one is Joker. Okay. What's your deal, man?
I've made no secret of that I hate this movie. It has absolutely no business being a Joker film. It's somebody slapping DC and Joker on, King of Comedy, Incel, Clown Man, The Origin, and it's not Joker. It bears no resemblance to the DC comics or anything like that, and yet it made $1 billion off the back of just having that name when to me, it's abusing it. It's just one of those movies that's like going to glorify, murder because it's all, it's mental health issues and whatever else. And I'm going to glorify being an asshole because, society treated you that way. And it's everything that's wrong with the world in cinematic form. But I'm pleased you like it, Theo.
Right. Am I allowed to come to its defense now?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. So I can take into account that it's hard to see this as a Joker movie, but it is at the end of the day. And I think I still like the way it tied in, like the thread of it. He may be Bruce's like relative. I thought was interesting. That's like an interesting take on the Joker that's never really been done, I don't think, to my knowledge. And I think Joaquin Phoenix does a phenomenal job in the role of Joker. Like, I think he really smashes it. And I can get where you're coming from with like the murder being glorified and like seeing as something as like empowering, almost like the murder's empowering.
Catharsis, that's the word, because like people are getting their comeuppance for being jerks, and so you feel this sense of catharsis that somebody's just been murdered horribly.
This might just be my big brain interpretation, but every time I felt pity for Arthur Fleck and the Joker's character. I felt so bad for him, and obviously he's like, that's what the character's meant to be. When he turns to killing people, I didn't view it as something that was like glorified or something that was like, oh hell yeah, he just killed these assholes. I was like, okay, this is pushing the line. Like this is going too far with it. Like you can.
But the film celebrates it. He has a song, like a musical sequence, while everyone's like mimicking him as they're here, and he's dancing down the steps, like, "Hey, everyone's agreeing with me."
It kind of plays into that, like when do we support someone? Like when does someone go too far? That makes sense. Like when do we say, all right, this is too much? Like when he's threatening the guys, you're like, yeah, stick up for yourself, mate. Do it. And then when he pulls the trigger, you're like, shit, you've gone too far. And for me,
the film doesn't present you with that. I would counter that the film glorifies it like mad, because the film doesn't paint that as him going too far. It paints it as that's his heroic origin. Do you know what I mean? It's like, not the greatest.
But then again, that my interpretation of it is like we see it, and it's meant to be like, again, there's a word I can't think of. It's not catharsis, but as like not revitalizing, but like it's for him. Like it uplifts him, it makes him feel better. But from my point of view, it's not a good thing. Like him going around killing people who are just assholes, that's not good in my books. And for that, I can see him as a character who's gone too far. The same when he goes on the talk show. He got publicly humiliated, which, yes, you feel for him. You feel bad for him. You want him to succeed. But then when he shoots the host, you're like, shit, no, that's too far. Like, again, it may have been filmed and it was meant to be interpreted as like a
that's what you're taking from it, but I would disagree. I would say the film's presenting it a completely different way, and you are mature enough to know that, like, this kind of shit is bad, but not everybody is.
If anyone comes away from that film thinking that Joker was a hero, I think they just completely misread the film, in my opinion. I get that, like, it is shown to be glorifying, but then I think that's kind of the aspect, because we need to have a character to root for, and out of all the dipshit, like, dirtbag characters there are, he's the only real character we can latch onto, because he's the only one that's being shown to us. But he's still an interesting character. Like, I want to follow him. Doesn't mean I agree with everything he does, or that, like, his mental health is an excuse for what he does, but it's interesting. I just find it fascinating to, like, follow this character that, to me, is at the point of being irredeemable.
Actually, I wasn't interested. I was just bored and I couldn't stand the character. But that's just me.
About Joker here, or Ezra Miller.
Oh, controversy. I'm going to come to Theo's defense on this one.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not incredibly familiar with it, but I have seen it. I mean, for me, my first impression is it's basically a Scorsese film.
Yeah.
It's Taxi Driver, it's King of Comedy, which is very related, and has that, Robert De Niro connection, of course. It's absolutely challenging, this film. I did not see it as glorifying myself. But yeah, I can see why you would say, Mike, that, other people might see that. But, I think we need that in cinema. I think we need things that do challenge perceptions and do, make you think the danger, of course, being that people will just see it at face value and take that. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm coming to the defense, and clearly I didn't include it in my top 10, or I haven't mentioned it at all. But I definitely see where you're coming from on that, Theo. I didn't see him as a hero. I saw, not even an anti-hero.
Yeah.
It's an examination of the character and, the mental health and what society does to people, which I think is very relevant in this day and age, in terms of social media and the state of.
I mean, I was going to put out, but I will just say that my counterpoint to that is that there's an awful lot of people cosplaying as this character, and that is not particularly that is people that are missing the point, and yet the film led them there.
Can I have just one quick example of, I think, like, acknowledging that this character is in the wrong?
Mm-hmm.
When you see him dancing on the steps, they play a Gary Glitter song. Now, the song itself is all right. Like, it's pretty cool, it goes to sequence. But knowing about Gary Glitter and watching that, being like, oh, shit, this like, revitalizing sequence is done over a Gary Glitter song. I was like, so I'm not meant to like this guy. Yeah. I'm not meant to be on his side because he's dancing to a nonsense.
That's giving them a lot of trust that they didn't just pick that song because they liked it.
I am putting a lot of faith in that. And I read that, but for me, I felt like there's got to be a reason why they did that.
Okay,
and that's what I like to think about. That scene is like they're playing on the idea of, this is his moment, but like, is it a good moment?
Yeah, okay. I don't think that was accidental. I don't think it was about the song. I think that it's. Well, I'd like to think anyway, but
a lot of this is like speculation. But I just, like you, I'd love to think that that's what they're doing.
That's fair enough. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody liking it. You are taking away that, like, you like it for the right reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, if you say it to me, I like it because it's challenging cinema. And
if I turn around like, oh mate, this film's so relatable, then we've got issues.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, but you'd be surprised. Like I said, you see a lot of these memes, like, you missed the point by idolizing them starter pack, and it's like Rorschach from Watchmen or the Tyler Durden from Fight Club and whatever. And I would add the Joker to that.
Things like when people idolize Harley Quinn and Joker as an ideal romance. Yeah.
We got deep on this last one, didn't we? But
we did, but we'll move us on anyway.
On my ground, because I knew Mike was going to fight me on this one.
Oh no, but at the end of the day, we can disagree and still be friends.
Oh yeah,
we'll just have a different. We both watched it and took a different way, but neither one of us are wrong, and neither one of us saying you're wrong to think that. It's just that I didn't feel the way you did. You didn't feel the way I did. That's fair enough.
And neither one of us are talking to each other again after this, so
don't worry about it. I'm still good to chat to you. Don't worry.
Cinema is art, and art is interpretation and personal, emotional response.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's about cinema at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. It would be boring if we were all just like, well, that was bland. Yeah, exactly. So I'll move us to the next bit. So before I give our final 10s, DK, did you get my message about the audience interaction section?
I did. I have them here. Would you like me to go through those?
If you could just start us off, we're going to move to the audience interaction section, and we're going to go over some of the top 10s that we received from viewers and listeners. DK, if you want to start us off with the ones you've got.
Yeah, first we've got Chris, which is at Shelf Nerds over on Twitter. He says, I think Marvel is more consistent in the production of a quality product, while DC has incredible highs and incredible lows. It lacks consistency in quality and vision, and I'm not saying they need a shared universe of storytelling like Marvel. He's then given 5 of his favourite movies. They're in no particular order from what I can see, but he lists The Dark Knight, The Batman, Batman Begins, the Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. Sacred Chalice of Ricks at TrekFanRick. He says this was a challenging list to do. I think you better get ready with that hot rod there, Mike. At number 10, he has Batman Returns. At number 9, Superman 3. At number 8, Man of Steel. At number 7, Batman Forever. At number 6, Batman Begins. At number 5, Superman.
Correct reaction.
Number 4.
Literally fainted.
Number 4, The Dark Knight. Here's where it gets interesting. Number 3, Batman and Superman.
Oh.
Number 2, Green Lantern. And number 1, Superman 2.
Moving on.
Yep, and we've got one here from Will Templar. And he's at number 10. He has Joker. At number 9, he has Constantine. Thank you, Will. At number 8,
he's barely seen any DC films.
At number 8, he has Batman 89. At number 7, he has The Suicide Squad. Number 6, he brings up Shazam. Number 5, Batman Begins. Number 4, The Dark Knight Rises. Okay. At number 3, Superman. Number 2, The Batman. And at number 1, he has he has The Dark Knight.
Nicely done.
I think that's more or less just Will's 10 DC films he's actually seen.
It basically is, effectively. My little brother Sam sent me one. His list is, let's be honest, 90% Batman. But I said I would read it, so here we go. His list is number 10, Birds of Prey. Number 9, Batman the Killing Joke, which does count just on a technicality because it did get a theatrical release. Number 8 is The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, come on. Number 7 is Aquaman. Number 6 is Batman Begins. Number 5 is Batman Returns. Number 4 is The Batman. Number 3 is The Suicide Squad. Number 2 is Watchmen. And weirdly, his number 1 is The Dark Knight. So for all the criticisms, he does have the same number 1 as me. So and finally, speaking of family members, my little nephew Harry has some strong opinions, and he sent me his list, and he says, number 10, Robin, just because it's hilarious. It's not a good movie, but it's a great movie to have a laugh at. Number 9, Tim Burton's Batman. Number 8, Superman the movie. Number 7, Wonder Woman. Number 6, Green Lantern. To which is written, I literally don't see anything wrong with it, and it baffles me why people don't like it so much. It's hilarious, the plot is quite good, and the CGI really isn't as bad as people think it is. It makes sense for the suit to be full CG since it's supposed to be a lantern construct.
Like Ryan Reynolds. So
yeah, exactly.
That's like with E.T.
Nothing else.
Anyway, his number 5 is Aquaman. His number 4 is The Suicide Squad. His number 3 is Shazam, which hasn't really come up enough in this list, but yeah. His number 2 is The Dark Knight, and his number 1, Theo, is The Batman. So, yes. So he did write a little bit of explanation underneath and said, I love Superman as a character. He's my favorite superhero, but I feel like most of the movies do him justice. Christopher Reeve's Superman the movie and Brandon Routh's Superman Returns are the only Superman movies where I feel like his character is actually done right. Man of Steel is a complete mess of a Superman movie. Henry Cavill is great, but the portrayal of Jonathan Kent, a character who I feel has just as important a role in a super movie as Superman himself, is a train wreck. He gives Clark horrible advice, basically tells him to just let people die, and then gets himself killed in a tornado, which is stupid since it doesn't send Clark the message that he can't save everyone the way him having a heart attack does in other Superman media. This version of Superman is too dark instead of being the lovable Superman that he normally is, which further proves the fact that Zack Snyder hasn't read a single piece of Superman. However, General Zod and the rest of the villains are great in this movie. So,
that's pretty much nailed on the head, though.
I mean, he is right, effectively.
You're not wrong.
A top 10, but I will be honest, 3 films are tied. So we have 3 number 6s, basically.
What odd number?
Yeah, they all have the same points.
One weird number to be tied.
It's 13 points. We have 3 films on that, so they're all technically number 6. So yeah, if you're wondering why we jump from 9 to 6, that's why they're number 6. Heck, we ended up with a top 10 all the same, which I'm surprised about. I thought we'd be a bit more, there'd be a bit more dissonance, a bit more difference, but there isn't. And it's surprising some of the films that made it because they were high on one person's list. So, right, drum roll, everybody. Woo! Well, at number 10 then is The Batman. So it made our top 10 list. Well done.
I'm happy.
Yeah, number 9 was Joker, which again, Don't love that, but it got 10 points. So it came in at 9. It's fair. The joint number 6s then are in alphabetical order. Wonder Woman, The Suicide Squad, and Superman 2. So they're all the joint number 6. The number 5 is Batman Begins. The number 4 is Watchmen. The number 3 is The Dark Knight. The number 2 is Batman 89. And the number 1, the best top DC movie according to this here podcast, is Superman 1978. Yes! Yeah! Good call, everybody. That's our top 10. So do you agree with us? By all means, leave your comment in the descriptions below, or anywhere that you can find us on social media, which you'll hear in our fabulous new outro. And all that's left to do now is to say thank you so much for joining us. And we'll start with you, Theo. Did you have anything you wanted to plug quickly before we head out?
Well, if I'm allowed to plug, then
of course.
I have my own YouTube channel, Soup Productions. And I have my joint podcast with Will, which is the Big Screen Podcast.
Awesome. And links to all of this will be in, of course. But yeah, thanks for joining us. I think this is the first time you've been on this channel, although we've been on yours. So really appreciate it, and hopefully we can.
It's been really fun. Thank you.
Awesome.
It's great.
Awesome. Great. It's great having you. Nick, what did you want to plug, if anything at all?
I have nothing to plug, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you very much for having me. And
thanks for coming back, and thanks for coming back to us after that, Predator. And thanks for it's been nice to meet you, because I didn't have a chance to the last time since DK hosted solo. So it's been a pleasure.
Same.
Okay, you doing anything you wanted to say before we quickly sign off?
I think I've had a cracking time, and nothing to plug. Just usual description. That's it.
Awesome. Right, that's fair enough. That will end this then. And thanks once again to Timeless Journey, our new outro music. You can find links to their SoundCloud in the description, as you'll hear. And hopefully you don't disagree with us too much, and we could all still be friends. In the meantime, you can catch our sister podcast, Hit or Miss Star Trek, which DK and I will be starting up again. Third season of that very soon. So look out for that over on that channel, and look out for the game show Trekker Mind, Star Trek Mastermind, coming to that channel soon as well. So thanks again for joining us, and again, great actual choices. I'm very chuffed with that top one, because you, in the epic words of Arnie, in the epic words of Superman, you'll believe a man can fly, and we'll be back.
You have been listening to the Silver Screen Podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson and DK. Created, produced, and edited by Michael Wilson. Behind the scenes sections and additional material produced by DK. Music by Timeless Journey. More information can be found at soundcloud.com/Timeless Journey. Follow the podcast on Twitter at podcast_screen, on Instagram at Silver Screen Podcast, or look for the Silver Screen Podcast under Facebook groups. Links to all our social media accounts and more are in this episode's description. This podcast is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Silver Screen, Hit or Miss Star Trek. This has been a Mike's Podcast production. Copyright 2022. Thank you for listening.